improvisation here, and this is going to be the first of many. But I was very inspired to do this today by the work of this amazing brother right here, amazing Dante Winslow.
Thank you, brother.
If you've been following what I'm doing, and you heard my new single, that crazy amazing trumpet solo you heard of this brother right here. And I just wanted to start doing some things of just kind of talking about music, just kind of on some music nerd, music head for the music scholars out there. Just to kind of talk a little bit about some of the philosophies of myself and the musicians that I work with. And Dante is also an amazing educator, and he's just a very methodical musician who I thought would be really dope to start with him, because I know he not just throwing dust in the wind. Like he know what he's doing. So I thought we can get to some interesting conversations about music, the trumpet, just general philosophy. But first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, Dante, and a little bit about your story, just so they know who's the man behind the trumpet.
Okay, I'm Dontae Winslow, composer, trumpet player, husband, and father. I'm a man of love. I've celebrated 24 years of amazing marriage with my queen, and so my family and my wife and the philosophy of family goes with me everywhere I go. My number one intention is always to spread love with my instrument. And I moved to LA from Baltimore, graduated John Hopkins, Peabody, and did classical music, moved to LA and toured, did pop bands and R&B bands, and played classical music with orchestras. When I met my brother Kamasi, I started playing with him and his band, and then he started playing with me and my band. And the number one thing I felt from him was a great sense of worldly love. There was a sense of brotherhood I felt that I married into from coming from the East to the West. And playing with him, there was such a great release of creative freedom. And that freedom, I feel, allowed my playing to blossom because there was no judgment in the ensemble. And with that open guise, I feel like I've flourished living here in California for like the last 20 years. We've been building, playing music, touring together, and being together as a family. And for me, this is kind of like the culmination of us being at the height. You know, we've done small clubs, and now we do world-class venues. We toured with Lauryn Hill together. We did Raphael Sadiq, a lot of R&B and pop bands together. So we come from the trenches and seen our music be exposed to everyone around the world. Now, when I play and when I write, when I compose, everywhere I go, it's about spreading love with my instrument. My intention is always to touch and heal somebody in the audience. If I can blow breath through my trumpet and somebody's affected, if they can get goosebumps like I get when I listen to some of the best music in the world, that's always my number one goal.
And what drew you to the trumpet? Because I always feel like every musician has an instrument that's like their spirit animal. And like sometimes you hear musicians that are great musicians, but they ain't found their spirit animal, and you can kind of tell like, ooh, you really are a drummer.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because even myself, I sometimes feel like I'm kind of a drummer. Sometimes, So what drew you to the trumpet?
Really, it was a fluke. I picked up the flute, and my best friend Richard Wright at the time, best tuba player in the world, he said, "Man, you should play the trumpet." It only had 3 valves. It was silly, and I just wanted to be in the band. I knew all the band kids were the smart kids. They were set aside from everyone else, and I wanted to be a part of the elite group. I joined the band, played the trumpet. I found out it was harder than just having 3 valves. Terrace always says like that. Clark Terry told him the trumpet is an instrument of struggle. When you hear it, it only sounds good when a person's struggling. And so I liken that to the trumpet is the kind of instrument that you always meet people and they say, I used to play trumpet. They don't still play. Yeah, I played trumpet when I played trumpet when I was, so it's like an instrument for people that are not of the faint of heart.
I would say that, yeah, trumpet is an instrument of the wind instruments is one of the most almost like athletic.
I would say instruments.
It's like being a sprinter, and trumpet players kind of have a bit of that
grit
feel to them too. Like they approach the instrument with a different kind of intensity, I think, than a lot of other instrumentalists do. Another thing, we talked about our history. The first time I heard you, actually, we hadn't met. You were playing with Gary Bartz.
Yes.
And that's an interesting thing about my history too.
How old were you in?
I was about 14,
like middle school,
14, 15.
Okay.
I was just, no, because I was already playing saxophone. So
Okay.
I had to be about 15, 16.
Okay.
Because I was playing clarinet before that. But it's been an interesting thing in my life is that, like, it seems like most of the people that I work with, it's like I know them first. And then later on, we ended up making music. It was like we had a connection first. It's like the connection came before the music came, and a lot of the people that I work with, and so that I remember when we were playing with Lauryn Hill, and I was like, "Hey, you look," because I was like, first, I was like, "Yeah, like something."
You look
I feel
familiar.
like we did something before, and then you were talking about Gary Bartz. I was like, "Wait a minute, you were that dude playing trumpet and rapping with Gary Bartz." And I was like, "Oh wow, yeah."
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That was at World Stage, right?
The World Stage.
World Stage, yeah.
World Stage.
I remember that night, Bartz, I flew from Baltimore, came to town. I said, man, I want to learn this music. Because as you know, I always want the music ahead of time. I want to study it, get it in the brain. He said, man, you'll hear it. He said, we get it when we get there. We got to the gig. He said, man, you'll hear it. I said, what this some old 1940 bebop shit?
Yeah.
Like, what you mean I'm going to hear it? Like, what's the head? What's the
See, I do the same thing to him, though. I'm good for us being on stage. I mean, I feel this way about everybody in the band, but you're definitely one of the people I feel like I don't have no reservations throwing you in any of the fires that we may start on that stage.
That's true.
I've like, you know what I mean? It's like there's some people that you know
gonna rise to the occasion.
They gonna get it. You know what I mean? And you're definitely one of those people.
Thank you, bro.
And so when we were playing this song, it was another thing because this is a song by the great Astor Piazzolla. And I originally was thinking about this song as being a rubato song. I don't know if you remember that, but me and Cameron were in the studio trying to play this song out of time, kind of slow. And I was trying to figure it out. It was like, and it was cool like that. And then Brandon walked in playing a drum and bass thing. And he was like, ooh, that's it right there. And and the genesis of this actually was Miles. I played with a great tango dancer named Sergey, and or just an organizer for tango music. And we played this song, and it's part of a larger song that Astor Piazzolla wrote. And when we heard that melody, we were like, ooh, that's a cold one right there. It's one of those. Sometimes in the more through composed music, they'll have these moments of melodies that are just so powerful.
Right.
And this one stood out to us, and I was so happy because Miles is one of those. He's kind of like you. He's methodical.
Yes.
He don't forget nothing.
That's right.
We all said, "Ooh, we should play that one," but then nobody write it down.
Oh my goodness.
Except him. And so when we got in the studio, we were thinking about what to do with it, and then so I brought in Tony and Ronald, and they started playing this drum beat, and I was like, "Oh, this is like some drum and bass."
Right. So you heard it, he was like, "That's
not killer." I was like, ooh, Dante gonna light him up on this one.
Oh my goodness.
So when you first heard this rhythm on this song, before you knew he was taking a solo, I think we kind of worked it out a little bit.
Yeah.
What went through your mind? Did you want me to ask you, or was you like, ooh, I don't know about this?
No, I'm always open because you would throw me any kind of rhythm, any kind of solo to play on. But I did like it. Remind me of drum and bass. Remind me of some club stuff, like Baltimore Club. We got like goof, 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 goof.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
And we got tempos that are like 130. And so I grew up solo on that in high school. So I always want to play on something that was reminiscent of that tempo and that feel and that vibe, where it was jagged and where it was, jumping in and out of the rhythm. So as soon as I heard it, I'm like, yeah, we need to go there. And most recordings, improvised music, don't really play on that tempo and that vibe.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that, if I get a chance to play on this, I'm gonna really go there.
Yeah,
you stab. It's almost like you boxing.
Yeah, it has room for those kind of 16th note triplets, 16th notes.
Exactly.
And what I loved about it too is it also kind of had that
underlying.
So what I really liked about playing on this song was that it is dope when you play the halftime.
That's right.
And
or
the double
speed.
time.
That's right. And part of the solo, I do slow down halfway and kind of cut the time in half because I felt like, everything can't be fast. Let's go down slow.
Yeah, let's listen to that real quick. Let's listen to the beginning of the solo. was that section slow you were talking about. And the interesting thing that I love about that is that, and it kind of happened naturally, because I wish I could say that I pre-planned this out in some master grand scheme.
Right.
But in that moment when you're doing that, it went into a very interesting thing. What happened with the dancer storyboard P and Ceci, and they're kind of dancing in the halftime.
Yes, they are.
They're moving in the halftime. They're moving in almost a quarter
Fluid.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe, floating and gliding. And for me, when I was, I didn't really. For me, it was like seeing that was like how that play with time that they were hearing. I feel like one of the kind of key components of a lot of musicians that I kind of vibe with is that they have that same kind of fluidity with the time.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're hearing all the subdivisions
at the same time.
Me too. Like, I'm always hearing all the triplets. It's like it drives people crazy, because I'll be tapping some weird stuff sometimes, because I'm just hearing different subdivisions within the music.
Right.
And
multiple layers.
I felt that from you in that moment when you kind of went to a bluesy.
When I was that was me definitely separating, saying, okay, now let's go to this dimension.
So rhythmically, when you approach a song, just in your studies, your rhythmic studies, did you study like out of the Arben's book? Did you study things for your rhythm, or is that just coming from just from your blackness, from your ancestral heritage?
I mean, but I guess I've been writing rap since I was 10. So rap is very rhythmic. I look almost some of my favorite rappers are like Biggie, Nas, and the way they go over the bar line. In addition to doing that, I've studied Stravinsky, Mahler, and Mussorgsky and their orchestration, and how they also divide the bar line up. And I'm almost always comparing orchestral music to rap music to improvisational black music. Like, I'm always seeing how people juggle the beat and how they, like, I found a piece in The Rite of Spring where he go boom, cat boom, cat boom, cat boom. And I was like, yo, that's like Planet Rock.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
That sound like Still Dre.
100%. So I make these comparisons, and so I found that, there's so much more unity in the music than it is totally separate. People don't get that. I don't even see a dividing line, really. So I challenge myself by listening to the most either soulful rhythms I can find, or the most complicated rhythms, like in Indian music, as you know, and try to figure out, man, how can I apply that in an improvised space? I remember, like, Roy Hargrove, one of my mentors, said, man, when you play the trumpet, you just playing the drums. And somebody told him that. James Brown said, you just playing the drums when you play a horn. So really, I'm just hitting the snare.
There is a spiritual connection between trumpet players and drummers.
Yes,
historically. Yeah, different, but you definitely cut from the same stone.
100%.
Two different statues that come from the same stone. 100%. To me. Like, when you feel the spirit of a great trumpet player, it reminds me of the spirits I feel from great drummers.
Great drummers, I agree. And they set each other up very well. Yeah.
So getting to this song. So when you heard this rhythm, what did it? So for me, sometimes when I know I got the first solo, as I'm playing the melody, I'm catching the vibe, and I'm kind of deciding where I'm going to start. Do you do that, or do you just in the moment?
I try to do the moment, because I've tested myself. As you know, I'm a scientist, so I tested myself in improvisational scenarios where I go in with an idea and I listen back and I say, that wasn't pure enough. So I find with me, going in with no plan is always best. You can practice at home, but when I come with you on stage, one thing I learned from my wife, Queen Chic, and she's from church. She's an amazing classical and black music soloist singer, but what impressed me when she was young was she gave me the goosebumps. She had that Holy Spirit thing. And I say, where do you learn that at? And she would say, you got to remove yourself from the situation. So we have this approach that I adopted from her. When I approach the bandstand, approach the solo, I say, God, take my flesh and take me and throw me 3 cities away. You now vessel and speak through my spirit to these people. So I try to come from a spiritual perspective of what is needed right now in the universe, what is supposed to be said. So I can't listen to the notes and the perfection now and compare myself to the, Louis Armstrong, Freddie Hubbard, Miles Davis. I got to be like, yo, I am Dontae Winslow, husband and children exist in this world with my brother. And we got love between us. And all that love is reverberating on the stage, and remove me wanting to get house, wanting to get props, wanting to play a good solo. Even Herbie would say, like, you got to not try at anything. On his Buddhist stuff, he'll be like, so if I can remove all of me and let God come through this horn and come in this moment, then whatever we hear, that's what is meant to be heard at that moment. And hopefully that touches somebody.
Oh, yeah.